Hey, what is going on guys? Kiwi Fisher back here, and this is episode 2 of how to make a Minecraft plugin. Last episode we covered the basic fundamentals of Java, which are very crucial to making sure that you go through this tutorial understanding what I'm talking about, because I won't just be spoon-feeding everything. The whole point of this is to help you learn, not to show you exactly what to do step by step. Anyway, so go check that out if you haven't seen it, but this episode I will be dipping my toe into Spigot. And what I mean by that is I'm going to show you how to get Spigot, because it's a little more complex now to actually download it because of the whole DMCA action with Bucket, and also some stuff to do with Mojang's legislation of how you can use their code. Got a bit messy a while ago, but it is done how I am about to show you. Anyway, so what you do is you come to www.spigotmc.org and you're going to go to downloads and you're going to go to Spigot build tools. Now, build tools is not Spigot. You're going to download the latest successful artifact, which according to this one is right here. It's a nice small file, 3.3 megabytes. Now we are going to drag that off to our desktop. And I have created a folder here called test server, and I'm going to put a new folder in here, and we are going to call it build tools. And you're going to drag this into here. If you have got some weird numbers like that after mine because you've downloaded it before, just get rid of it, leave it as build tools.jar. Now up here it says more information on how to use here, so you're going to click on that and take a read through that. It is well worth it. But basically what is going to happen is build tools will take all of Spigot's code and it will take all of Mojang's code and it will combine it as one and download it to your desktop. It shades it in because Spigot can't actually redistribute Mojang's code. They will get in trouble for that. So what they do is they give you the build tools and it mixes it on your desktop, and that way they're not breaking the law and you are not breaking the law, so everyone's happy. Anyway, so different instructions for different operating systems, but I am on Windows. So here we've got running build tools, and it says what to do if you're on Linux, what to do if you're on Windows. So we are going to come here and we're going to right click this. Oh, first things first, you have to install Git. I should mention that. It is quite important. It's a very widely used open source handling program. You're just going to click the latest download here. You've got it for Mac, you've got it for Linux, so it doesn't really matter what system you are on, but you are going to right click it once it's installed and you are going to say git bash. We want to bash it. And you can see here we have java-jar buildtools.jar, and that is exactly what we are going to run. We are going to go java-jar buildtools.jar. Now it has to be named exactly the same, and all this is saying is we are doing something with Java. We are going to be accessing a jar, or we're going to be running a jar, and that jar is buildtools.jar. You're just going to hit enter and it is going to do its thing. This does take a while. I'm not going to record the whole thing. It can take sort of up to 10 minutes, so I'm going to cut the video here and get back to you guys when it is done, and we will continue going from there. So I'll see you guys in a moment. Okay, so it is finished downloading and shading everything in, and if we go back to this folder where I put it in build tools, we can see there is now a whole heap of files. Spigot 1.9.2 is the one we are after, so we are going to chuck it in here. Now I have my start.bat with obviously just my execution parameters, so I can open it up. And first time it's obviously not going to work because we need to accept the EULA agreement, which is right here. We're going to change that to true and save it, and then just start that up again. No, we don't want to save that. We can now close Git because we don't need it, and as you can see your server is going to generate as normal. Now this same file here, copy it to a location that it can sit there without changing, because if it changes location it's going to mess with your programming. I'm just going to use my desktop because this is about as good as it gets. I'm not going to be moving that. I don't really need my desktop for anything else. Anyway, so what you're going to do, and I've also made the text a bit bigger in my IDE, so hopefully you guys can read it a bit better because I realized it might be a bit small on the screen. So what you're going to do is you are going to right-click, oh sorry, not right-click, you're going to go File, and you're going to go Project Structure. And you are going to go to Modules, and see up here it says Dependencies. Right now we are depending on Java 1.8. I'm going to add another dependency, and we're going to add a jar. And that jar which I am going to add is on my desktop, and that jar is Spigot 1.9.2, and we're just going to click OK, and Apply, and it's going to index everything, which you can see down here. You're just going to wait for that to finish up, and then we can get started on our first bit of Minecraft plugin code. So I am actually going to get rid of this here because it is not something that we want. It is gone, and I am going to create a new class, and we are going to call this YouTube. So we're going to call this YouTube plugin. All lowercase. For your package names you always use lowercase, and for your class names you just capitalize it normally. So I'm going to call this test plugin. Test plugin. And I'm going to click enter, and we can now see we've got com.kiwifisher.youtube plugin test plugin. So now we have this here, and the first step that you always have to do is you always have to say it extends Java plugin. And as you can see here, org.bucket.plugin.java, that means it is accessing the API that we just push in as a dependency. So you can click enter, and there you go. You are now accessing an external API. It's really not that hard. Now there's a few things that a Minecraft plugin must always have to run. And the first one is a onEnable command. So the first thing you type is @override, and you're going to have a public void onEnable with no parameters, and there we go. So what this means is we are overriding the onEnable function in the Java plugin part of Spigot. Public means it's obviously accessible from external of this class because, well, the Minecraft server is going to be accessing it. It doesn't have a return type, it returns void, and that is just the name of the method which we are overriding. So what this does is it is your main method, I guess. From what I explained in the last video, you saw when I ran the program, the main method was the method that executed. But when a plugin runs, the onEnable is the method that executes. Likewise with that, we also have a very similar looking one. No points for guessing what it's called. It is called onDisable. And again, that is from, oh, did I spell it wrong? Disable. No, it's disable. Come on. And that is going to run when the plugin is shutting down. So when you reload a plugin using essentials commands, reload, it runs onDisable for every plugin, and then it just runs onEnable again. This is also run for when the server's shut down, so if you need to save data or do something before it shuts down, because it'll cause issues otherwise, then it all goes in there. Now there is a few, or one other thing actually, that you must have, and a lot of people always forget this. I often used to forget it when I was still learning, and that is a plugin.yml. Now, a plugin.yml is basically telling your system what the plugin is. So first thing we need is a main. And that is the main class. Which class are we accessing? And right now we are going to be accessing which class? So we're going to be accessing com.kiwifisher.youtube plugin, and that is .test plugin. We also need to have a version. Some of these are not required, others are. We also need a name. We're going to call this one test plugin. And just because we can, we're going to add an author of Kiwi Fisher. So now we're telling it, okay, this is the entry point for the plugin, this is where you are going to be accessing the the plugin's main method, the on enable. The version is version 1.0. That's just for your own, or for people seeing what version they're on, so they can report bugs to you, stuff like that. Name is what shows up in log, and author is just so people can see, or you can use the method .getAuthor or something like that. Anyway, we're going to save that, and now when we open this up, you can see it's all nicely saved. So right now, this is a functioning plugin. This will go in a server and this will run. In fact, before I do anything, I'll show you guys what we're going to do about it. We're going to go File, Project Structure, we're going to go to Artifacts, right there, and we're going to add an artifact, and it's going to be a jar, and it's going to be from a module with dependency, and we are going to be using YouTube, and we are going to select copy the output directly and link via manifest, because otherwise what it does is it will compile it with the Spigot API inside the plugin, and you're going to come out with a 20-something megabyte plugin when this should actually be about 1 kilobyte. So we're going to click OK, and we have all this stuff here. You can expand it, it's going to be compiling, and we are going to click apply. We're going to click close, and then if we come up to build, we can go build artifacts, build. And it is going to do all its stuff down here, and it is now done. So if I go to my operating system and I go users, OEM, I can then go idea projects. Oh, okay, apparently my location has changed since I have last used this. It is going to YouTube on the desktop. Okay, give me a second, guys. There we go. And it is going into artifacts, YouTube. There we are, youtube.jar, 2 kilobytes. So I'm going to copy that, and I am going to chuck it into my test server in the plugins. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to start it back up. Now, once this has loaded, the plugin's not actually going to do anything. What's that? What did it have an issue with my plugin .yml? Invalid description. Okay, hold on, guys. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I just took a look at it, and I have completely, utterly derped. Plugin.yml is all correct, I've done it correctly, but it is not meant to go inside your package, it just goes straight into the source. So I am just going to move it and rebuild it, and we should be good to go. We can see here, has it been updated 4.19? That is us. And we are going to chuck it back into here, copy, replace, close this server, and start it up. And now hopefully this plugin is going to load. It is going to do absolutely nothing. There we go, I didn't see any errors. And now if I type PL, there we go, we've got a test plugin. Look at that, it's loaded. So now we can actually start to do something. So I want to go over the basics of setting it up so that as you progress through this, you aren't developing bad habits. So the first thing that I always do is I create a private plugin, and that is going to be equal, it's not going to have anything assigned to it, it's just going to be called plugin, and in the on enable I'm going to say this dot plugin is equal to this. Now what this means is private is again an access modifier like public, except private means it can only be accessed within this class. Now this is quite a important feature, or quite an important concept within object-oriented programming. What we do is we create all of our instance variables, we make them private, because otherwise they can be accessed externally from the plugin, and then we create something called getters and setters, which I'll show you in a second. The whole idea behind that is called encapsulation, and I'll spell it out, encapsulation. There we go, that is encapsulation right there, and what it is it's to do with security, it's to do with the safety of your code. So now we have this private plugin here, and it's when it enables, we are saying this, so that this refers to this class that I'm editing right now. So we're saying this dot plugin, so it's accessing this thing here. See, if I click on it, it highlights both of them, and I'm saying it is equal to this. I'm saying the plugin is this. It's a little bit abstract, but you'll see why I'm doing it. So what I need to do under here is I need to create a getter, and a getter will send this object, it will send the plugin to any requests through this method. So it needs to be public, it needs to be accessed by external methods, and it is going to have a return type of plugin. It's going to be sending a plugin, and we are going to call it get plugin, and it doesn't require any parameters, and all it is going to do is return this dot plugin. So when this method here is called, it's going to return a plugin type, and the plugin type that is returning is this plugin here, which of course we have assigned to this on the enable. So what we can do now is we can create a private logger. And you can see there java.util.logging, that is the one that we are after, and we are going to call it log. I don't want to call it logger, I want to call it log. And when it enables, we are going to say this dot log is equal to get plugin dot get logger. So we are saying this log here is equal to the plugin, which is this this class, and then we obviously have methods within this class like get logger, get config, get name, get server, all that stuff. So we are just assigning the logger here to be this plugin's logger. So what I can do now is I could just do log.info welcome to my test plugin, and because it's in the on enable, it's going to print out welcome to my test plugin into the log. Now it might look a bit complex. You're probably thinking at this point, oh, this is quite a lot of work just to print a line into the console. Yes, it is, but in the long run it's going to save you a whole heap of time, because you don't have to constantly refer to this main plugin. And also, I'll mention it later on, I'm not going to go into it now because people like to abuse it. There's a modifier which you might have seen in the main called static, that refers to a fixed memory location. Do not abuse that. It is not good. It increases your memory usage of your plugin, and it's just bad Java practice in general. So now if I were to run this plugin, I'll do it quickly to show you guys. It is going to say welcome to my test plugin in the console. So if I jump here, I copy it, I paste it into here, and I'm going to close that and start it up again. Now I might have to scroll back and find it because it isn't going to be easy to see, but it should be near the end. There we go, test plugin, welcome to my test plugin. Test plugin, enabling test plugin 1.0. So we can see it is all working now. So that is the basics of creating a plugin. It is this is the bare bones. From here you can make any plugin. Every plugin that you have ever downloaded is built very similar to this. They all have an on enable, they all have an on disable. Now this stuff that I'm teaching you with the getters and setters, the encapsulation, it is a bit more of an advanced topic. I'm not going to be covering absolutely everything to do with it. I don't have time in these short little videos. What I recommend is going to a website like Stack Overflow. So if you were to search Stack Overflow encapsulation, I'm sure they have some nice explanations on what encapsulation is. So here's one for Java, and people explain nicely what encapsulation is and why it is useful. So I suggest going and reading up more external to these videos if you really want to understand the language. Otherwise, if you're just tagging along to pick up bits and pieces, then just do as you please. So what I am going to do now is I am going to create a listener. I'm going to allow someone to type a command, and it is going to talk back to the person. Quite often in these videos you'll see people starting to type stuff under here and put it all in the same class. I'm going to try break that misconception, because that is not how it should be done. You should really create another class called command handler, or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to do commands in their own class, just so it's easier for us in terms of looking at, it's easier to manage, and yeah, it's just generally the accepted practice. So first thing we are going to do with commands is we are going to implement a command executor. And see here how it's all underlined in red? That's because implementing something is, without getting into too much technical jargon, it's implementing something called an interface. And an interface is saying, if you implement this, you have to have these methods, and right now we don't have these methods. So I'm going to click on this little red bubble and I'm going to say implement methods, and it says, okay, the one that you're missing is on command, funnily enough. So we're going to click enter and accept that. And you can see here it is a public type. It's obviously overriding the interface's command. It is a boolean, so that means if the command goes through well, it's going to return true. If it fails, it's going to return false. And it has a few parameters. It has a command sender, it has a command, it has a string, and it has the string of arguments, or the array of strings, which I actually refer to as args because they are the arguments. Now, if I were to type a command like, just ignore those, I'm just commenting it out. If I were to type hello, /hello can be our command, and I'm going to say Kiwi Fisher. So this here, hello, is going to be our command. Kiwi Fisher and any other text, any blah 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 blah, all of these here are going to be our arguments. And see here how we have an array of strings. This is going to be first in the array, this is going to be second in the array, this is going to be third in the array, this is going to be fourth in the array. So that is how it works. This is the singular command, this is the, or anything after that are the arguments. So what we are going to do is we are going to first do a check with one of those if statements I showed you in the previous video. So we are going to say if command sender instance of player. So what that is saying is if the command sender, because you can obviously send a command as a player, but you can also send the command from console. So if the command sender is an instance of a player, so if the command sender is a player, then we are going to go into this code block. Otherwise it's just going to return false, because we're not going to worry about the console sending commands for now. So then we know that it's a player, so we can do something called typecasting. So I'm going to create a player called sender, and they are going to be a player that is the command sender. So I'll explain this right now. We're saying they are the type player, and they are called sender, and we have command sender, but they are just a command sender. They could be a player, they could be a console, they could be a plugin, they could be internal, anything. But we just did a checkup here, so we know for sure they are definitely a player. So we can safely cast it to a player. We can convert its type to player safely, which is what these brackets do. It's called typecasting. You can do it with a whole heap of things. You'll see me using it a lot as we go through. So now we have that all done, and now we can check if sender dot has permission. I don't have a permissions plugin installed, so I'm not going to do that because I don't want to have to install one, but that's how you could check permissions. You could also see if they have played before, so if they type it and this is their first login, then you could give them a reward because they've logged in for the first time and typed a command, so you give them some bonus money or something like that. Or if they have artificial intelligence, or if they have a line of sight to a certain entity, or if they have metadata, anything like that. It has a whole heap of methods built in. but I'm not going to worry about that. All I am going to do is check, okay, a player has typed a command, we know who it is, we have saved that as a sender, what should we do? Now, I'm an idiot, and I just realized I missed the most important step, or one of the most important steps. Up here, I'm going to say, well, we've only checked that if it's a player, we haven't actually checked what command they've typed. So we're going to say if command dot get label, and you saw me earlier using equals equals to check if something was equal to. You can't do that with a string, because a string might have the same physical text, but it isn't the same memory location. And equals equals is a memory assignment checker. It checks whether the memory locations are the same. And you could have two strings that say hello, exactly the same, but they're two different strings. They're in different locations, so that will return false. So for strings, what we have to use is dot equals, or equals ignore case. I'm going to use equals ignore case because I don't care whether they use a case, and I'm going to check if the command is equal to hello. And I'm also going to check as well if it is a player. So if the command's label equals hello and the sender is a player, then we're going to cast it, and we're going to go sender dot send message hello right back at you. So what's going to happen here is if a player comes on and they type /hello, the server is going to send a message back to them, hello right back at you. Now just to make it a bit more fancy, I am going to use a chat color, and I'm going to make it green. And we add it to the front. It's actually a string that uses special characters to change the color, but so you don't have to learn that, they have created a object for it very nicely. So this will now in green say hello right back at you. So if I compile this and ran it, blah 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 blah, it will not work. And that is because you have to register a command. So in the onEnable, we have to register the command. So we are going to go get command, and we are going to say that command is hello, all lowercase, sorry. And that's all good, but that's not going to work. We need to go back and set Executor. And the Executor is what class it is held within. So we are going to say it is a command handler. And we use the new operator, and I haven't actually covered this yet. I will in further detail, so don't worry if you don't understand this brief explanation. New basically is a call to instantiate a new object of that class. So this is creating a instance of command handler to listen for the command hello. We also need to come into our plugin.yml. We need to add a command, and it is under commands. And you're going to put a colon at the end, click enter, and then push tab. Make sure that it is replacing your tabs with spaces, because tabs do not work. If you aren't in Notepad++ or you can't figure out how to change it, just use spacebar, tap it 4 times. But if you can just go settings, preferences, tab settings, replace by space, just tick that, really easy. And we are going to register the command hello. Done. That is it. You have registered the command. This plugin will now work. So we can build the artifact. We can get the plugin and take it to our server, copy, replace it. We're going to restart the server quickly so that it is running the new version, and then we are going to log in. So here's my Minecraft running on Minecraft 1.9, and I'm going to add a server called localhost. There we go. We log in, and we can see on my console that I have logged in. And now, if I type /hello, hello right back at you. There we go. That is a plugin listening for a command and doing something based on the command. Next episode, I'm going to do potentially some more stuff with commands, but we're also going to take a look at something called event listeners. Now, event listeners are fired when something happens. So if TNT explodes, or a player joins the server, or someone dies, or a creature attacks you, or someone takes damage, anything like that, there's literally hundreds of them. You can access all of them and do things based on what is happening within the server. So that is for next time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.